In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a handle for a pocket door. So there are a bunch of different styles. This is the one I'm installing in this particular case. This goes right here, and there's another one that goes on the back side, so you can open it when it is closed. And then when it's closed, you need a pull, because I'm going to do trim here to have this be even. So you have to bury this basically into the door, and then this will pop out and you pull that to close the door. So I'm going to try and make it easy for you. The first thing I did was I hung the door, and before I put the trim on, I want to do this because I am doing the trim even here, so it's going to be really difficult to close the door afterwards. So I want to do it now before I do the trim. And to get the height of this, the standard height is 36 inches. And I just went around to the other doors in my house and made sure that that's about where the other handles were. And that's pretty much where they were. So center from the finished floor, I'm going to mark 36 inches. And that is going to be the center of where my handle is going to go. And then I want to center it in between here. So I'll take a measurement. This is 4.5, so we'll go 2.25. And then that right there is dead center of where I want this one. So we'll start with this one right here. And luckily there is a little template for both of those handles. This is the one I need for this. So I can hold it here and mark it. So we'll take a look at this template right here. This piece comes off, and I just want to see how it fits around the handle on the back side here. So it's pretty tight, but it goes just like that. So I'm going to take this, and so to start, I'm going to hold this up here and just kind of by eye try and center it. And then I'll take my tape measure and take some measurements. I'll go on the inside here, and well, that's not even. I'll see if, there we go. So if I hold it like that, and then I can adjust to make it about center right here. The height should be good. And then I just want to make sure it's straight up and down. And I'll measure the space to each side. I'll put this at 1.25 inches. And that's 1.25 inches as well. So that looks to be about center. 1.25 inches here. 1.25 inches there. And I'm going to put a piece of tape here. After measuring, put one here. So I'm measuring the space here. You're just going to want to do this until you get it centered. Same thing here, up and down. Good. Check the top. Okay, that looks perfectly centered where it is. I'm going to do one more thing just to double check this. I'm going to take a little torpedo level because I want this to be nice and plumb. I hold it to the edge of this template, and I can see this is perfectly plumb. I'm going to mark this, and when I cut it out, I'm just going to go kind of on the other side of the line so I can have a little wiggle room, so when I put the screws in, I can make sure that it's perfectly plumb and center and all that stuff. Because I do have this that will move around a little bit. So mark this without moving the template. Make sure you're able to see this line. There we go. And then we can remove this. I'll just keep the tape on it so we can do the other side same way. And now to remove this material so we can install the handle, you could use a router if you have one, but you might not have one, so I'm going to do it by hand, the old school way. And I'm going to use chisels and whatever I have to make it work. Before I start, I'm just gonna go to the other side, and because this is moving around, I'm gonna be hammering on it and all that stuff, I want to I'll just take a piece of 2x3 and kind of push the door this way a little bit so that I will have something to kind of press against while I'm working on it. I think it'll make it a lot easier. Now I have a nice solid surface, whereas before it was like that. Put a piece of tape here. I'll mar up the door. Step one, I'm gonna take a brand new razor blade, my utility knife, and I'm just gonna score this so I have a nice line to chisel out. Just gonna go real slow and be steady, don't slip. And when I get to the end, I'll flip the blade like this. Go up. I have to go at least 9/16 of an inch in. So it's going to take quite a bit of chiseling. Again, you can use a router if you have one, but that's up to you. I am going to start with a nice sharp chisel and start getting this material out of here. Might be going a little too deep there. Just don't want to mess up the edges here. Okay. Once you get a little deeper in like this, it'll make it easier to chisel because you won't be worried so much about scraping the face here, because that should stop you. So as you're doing this, you can kind of check with the handle and just keep in mind, so that is pretty tight. You might want to widen this a little bit, but keep in mind that we are going to recess this whole thing just a little bit, just like a 1/16 of an inch. So if you get it where it's good, go a little more, because you're gonna need to recess it a little bit more. But this is going good. There is some real wood back here, which is nice to see. Again, now that we're at this point, it makes it a little easier to take out kind of bigger chunks like that. And then what I'm doing is just kind of taking the chisel like this, just because I don't want to hammer on this door too much, and squaring it off like that. I adjusted this a little bit. I was measuring as I was doing this, and I just basically wanted this space and this space to be even, so I ended up moving it over a little bit, and now it's looking good. And I just want to check with my little torpedo level here, so you can see, and get this plumb. Just move it slightly like that until it's plumb, and then I'm gonna mark all around this, hold it in place. And this one, we're gonna be real careful and try and get this perfect. So take your time. I'm just gonna drop this in just a little bit. Again, be super careful. I'm gonna change my razor blade again and go even slower and just follow that line exactly. Starting to look pretty good. Just keep doing that and make sure as you do this, you're checking this to make sure you're not hitting, because you might end up chiseling the face off a little too much and you don't want to go too deep. So make sure you have plenty there. And as you're doing this, if you have trouble figuring out whether you need to take this out or this, you can flip it and kind of feel the edges, what you need to do. And in my case, I just want to trim just a little right there. Perfect. Okay, one more tip. I'm gonna hold this so hopefully you can see there is a little lip right here closer to this, and that is what I realized was holding me up. So I ended up chiseling kind of like at an angle like this just to get that off of there, but to leave this piece for this to sit on. And this isn't exactly going to be flush. It's going to be buried in just a little more because how this is made, this lip is going to kind of sit on that and bring it out. But it's just going to take time, patience, and just keep chiseling away, putting it back, making sure it's flush. And mine is finally flush. Now when your handle sits flush like this, in order to attach it, it's a little hard to see, but down in there you have a screw hole, and then the same thing up top there. So that's going to be a little tricky to get the screw up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to mark it with a pencil so that I can get a drill in there and pre-drill them before I go putting the screws in. I have the screws and a drill bit that is just a little smaller than the screws. I'm going to go at a slight angle. I also have an adapter that I could probably sneak in here, but you probably don't have that. So I'm going to just go right here at a slight angle, just enough to get my drill in. Trying not to hit the door. Try and get those screws in. There we go. Test it. Cool. All right, moving on. So next up is what I'm going to call the pull, and that we're going to center at 36 inches from the finished floor, and you shouldn't have a problem. We do have to drill into here, but you shouldn't have a problem as long as you're careful and you don't go too far. So this obviously is made so it won't hit that. So just be careful with the drill. And by the way, this handle I'll save for last because it's the same thing as this. So, and there's no particular order you have to do this in. You could do this one first if you wanted. 36 inches right here. For this one right here, you gotta take these out, and it goes like this with the square on the top, rectangle on the bottom, and it's basically gonna go like this. Get the center of this and determine where this is going. I'll make a mark right here and double check. Yeah, so I'll center it like that. So that'll work. And now there's a center line here. So I just want to get those and make a mark in the center of the door. Mine is 1 3/8, which should be just about 5/8. This door is 1 3/8, and center should be just about 11/16 right here. Double check. All right. And 11/16 down here. Good. Square goes on the top. Center it. Match it up to those lines. This one I am not going to tape. Should be good to just mark it. Okay. So this is real tight. I'm probably gonna have to make this a little wider with this. That's okay. I am gonna start inside of the lines and make it bigger if I have to. I'm gonna use a 1/4 inch Forstner bit. You can use any kind of drill bit, but this one will make sure it doesn't splinter this out. And I am going to put a piece of tape on here, right kind of like that, so that I don't go too far. Not that it's gonna matter, I don't think, because it's in the center. I'm gonna hit the other handles, but I'm gonna mark it just in case. There we go. That gives me a little bit past. I won't go any further than that. Okay, do this with the door closed so it doesn't move all over the place. And put my bit right here and drill. Do one right at the lines at the bottom, nice and straight. Okay. Now I'll get a chisel that I can fit in there. And again, just little by little, take out the chunks here. I'll start on this side so you can see, just like that. And then a 1/4 inch chisel, right in like this, little by little. We'll get it. Yeah. See, that doesn't make sense. That's got to be bigger. I think this one is deep enough. There's a little bit of wiggle room. If I have to make it bigger, I can. I think I'm good there. Now we just have to do that one. And that bit barely has to go in there. So I'll get a bit that size and go in about 3/8, maybe a 1/2 inch. And just to show you, right here it says 1 inch and 11/16 deep for this hole and 7/16 deep for this hole. So those are the exact measurements that they recommend. I think 5/8, as long as I center it, will be perfect. So again, I'll just go in 7/16 like they say. Another good thing about these is they don't grab regular drill bits. Sometimes regular drill bits can catch and then go in too far. And now, take this. Oh, looks like that needs to be opened up a little bit too. Okay, make it bigger. this in here once you get it all set and hold it at those center marks. And we're gonna do the same thing basically that we did for the other handle. And it says that you want to take off 3/16 of an inch, but the back of this is kind of similar to the other one where there's a couple things that might get you hung up, like this little ball thing right here. Probably have to take out a little more material here and check the operation, make sure this is working. Right now it's not, because that should be going back in. But as you do this, you're just gonna have to kind of adjust accordingly. I'll have to take some more out of here and just do whatever you can to make it fit. Looks like I am good. This sits right in there, nice and flush. I'm gonna hold this here. I'm going to mark these where the screws are going, and I'm gonna pre-drill those. So now I just got to do the handle on this side and do some touch-ups around here where I messed up a little bit, but that's okay, to be expected, and should be all set. So if you had to do something like this, hope the video helped. Thanks for watching.